And I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened by the way Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League. Now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
I understand in a situation like that, when it comes to the 3s and 4s that you're playing with that aren't going to be on the squad and not going to make the team, give your quarterback a chance. Okay, you know what? You know they can't hold up that long? Let's play quick game. Let's play quick game just to get Shedeur in the goddamn rhythm. But no, you come out, calling regular offensive plays.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
Shedeur Sanders wasn't just tossed into the game last night, he was dropped into a no-win setup. Nothing about it felt accidental. From his first snap, it looked like one player against the entire machine. The Cleveland Browns, led by head coach Kevin Stefanski, seemed intent on cooling the hype and slowing his momentum. Instead, the plan backfired. The performance and the circumstances around it have sparked a wave of scrutiny, with analysts and reporters now calling out Stefanski and the Browns front office for engineering a preseason situation that stacked the deck against Shedeur.
I'm going to answer this question by saying Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to tell you why. I think he's being set up to...
Stephen A. Smith said from the outset that the entire preseason would be engineered to undermine Shedeur Sanders. He argued that even starting the first preseason game was part of a plan to make him stumble, fueling the idea that he's just a 5th-round pick, and validating the skeptics. Whether that blueprint existed before the games kicked off or not, it didn't stop there. Now, attention has turned to Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns for placing Shedeur in an unfamiliar system and circumstances that set him up to falter. Garrett Bush echoed that criticism, noting that regardless of how hard Shedeur worked before and after practices, he was never treated as a true priority in their plans.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
Kevin Stefanski doubled down, saying his group was executing and placing the responsibility squarely on Shedeur Sanders for the miscues. When pressed on whether having Shedeur work all week with 3rd and 4th team units contributed to the mistakes, Stefanski wouldn't budge. Rather than acknowledge that first team reps might have better prepared a rookie, he waved off the idea and reiterated that his job is to develop young players. But what kind of development plan withholds meaningful snaps with starters, then drops a promising prospect into live action and expects him to run concepts he's never practiced with them?
All of our players, Mary Kay, there's things that we can do better, and there's some good moments out there, but that's what our job as coaches, to develop.
Skip Bayless weighed in as well, blasting the Cleveland Browns for their handling of Shedeur Sanders and calling it just about the worst approach imaginable. He said the issues fit a troubling pattern under Kevin Stefanski, with Sanders repeatedly mishandled instead of developed. In Bayless's view, this wasn't a one-off mistake. Sanders hasn't been given real opportunities or meaningful support. That treatment has only increased the pressure and made it even harder for him to succeed.
And I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened by the way Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League.
Chad Johnson added that by surrounding Shedeur Sanders with offensive players unlikely to make the roster, Kevin Stefanski effectively stacked the deck against him. He argued that even a quarterback of Tom Brady's caliber would have struggled in that setup. Analysts have echoed the point, putting the blame on the coaching staff for failing to give Shedeur a fair platform to succeed. Ochocinco also warned that critics would soon brand Shedeur a failure and dismiss him as a 5th-string option, while ignoring the core problem, who engineered the situation in the first place. Despite the noise, he framed the backlash as part of a broader effort to drag Shedeur down, noting that some people seem more intent on tearing him apart than acknowledging the circumstances that shaped his performance.
You just beat the guy, and that's okay. You get paid, he gets paid. Sometimes Ocho just gonna win because Ocho was just the better player. Sometimes the defensive back is gonna win. He wins some, you win more than you lose.
Despite the noise, Shedeur Sanders never criticized head coach Kevin Stefanski or anyone else. He put the outcome on himself and focused on what he could control. He acknowledged there was plenty to clean up and committed to doing the work. He framed it as a learning opportunity, refusing to let one preseason outing define him. Like a veteran, he owned the mistakes, recognizing he needed better eye discipline on those designed runs and smarter decisions to keep the offense on schedule. He even took responsibility for every sack, stating they were on him. The response was measured and mature, reflecting his grasp of the position and his readiness to improve.
No, I gotta watch the film, honestly. I can't say what it was. It's definitely different places where I could got my eyes in better spots and got to the progressions quicker and regards to anything, so all those sacks, they definitely on me.
How long can Shedeur Sanders keep absorbing the blame on his own? How long before the decision makers who've steered this process either stand up for him or at least grant him a fair look? More and more voices around the league see this as deliberate. Shedeur cleared the first gauntlet, but he's still tangled in the same net. That's the core problem. Not one preseason outing, but an apparatus that keeps tilting the field. The treatment of Shedeur Sanders forces hard questions about fairness, opportunity, and bias in the NFL. Despite the obstacles placed in front of him, he's responded with poise, owning his performance, identifying areas to improve, and committing to growth. But the larger issue isn't his willingness to learn, it's the structure around him that keeps narrowing his margin for success. His experience with the Browns, being dropped into situations where failure felt pre-written, points to deeper systemic habits. Young players, especially those who don't fit a preferred narrative, get boxed in, judged early, and developed late. This isn't only one quarterback story. It mirrors what countless prospects face when perception, politics, or preconceived roles outweigh on-field evaluation. As analysts and commentators continue to spotlight what's happening, it's clear the conversation about Shedeur Sanders has moved beyond a single depth chart debate. It's about dismantling baked-in biases and delivering a truly even playing field. Shedeur's resilience is real and admirable. The unanswered question is whether the system will evolve fast enough to let players like him do more than survive so they can finally thrive. What do you think?
Really, really good. Proud of you. All right.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
kinda proud.
Look, first side, was it perfect? No, but she made plays, she operated. Shedeur he's a very impressive young man. He's poised, he's calm, he's smart. You can tell that he's been raised by, really quite honestly, a Hall of Fame dad. Look, we're going to get to know him even more.
Andrew Berry is back and stunned everyone with a bold call. He bumped Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dylan Gabriel, jumping him from the third spot to the second. Here's the twist. Berry is all in on Shedeur, and it's intentional. He was the one inside the Browns organization who pushed for Shedeur to join the team. We saw the signs in the preseason. Berry clearly wanted Shedeur Sanders to break through and succeed in the NFL.
In regards to Shedeur and Theon's not going to interfere. Theon's not going to be calling the coach. Theon's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's in Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news out there.
All spring, Andrew Berry zeroed in on Shedeur Sanders. His initial plan was to get him in the first or second round. When the board didn't break that way, you could see the urgency. By round 5, Berry pushed the issue. He pressed the Haslams to greenlight the pick and bring Shedeur to Cleveland. His pitch covered more than arm talent and processing speed. He emphasized Shedeur's market presence and ability to lift the franchise's profile. That combination sealed it, and the Browns made the move. From there, Shedeur quickly became one of the team's most visible figures, which many around the league expected. Cleveland then moved Kenny Pickett, narrowing the depth chart traffic and giving Shedeur a cleaner runway to compete for meaningful snaps. The message was simple: opportunity is coming, and the path is clear. After a strong preseason debut, Berry sought Shedeur out and delivered direct praise. That wasn't a routine pat on the back, it was a deliberate public endorsement. It signaled how the Browns view him, not just as another quarterback on the roster, but as a priority investment with both on-field upside and off-field impact. The organization's actions, draft capital, roster moves, and visible support line up behind the same idea. They're betting on Shedeur Sanders and intend to give him every chance to grow into a central piece of this team.
Really, really good. Proud of you. All right.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
kinda proud.
Look, for your first side, was a perfect no, but you made plays, you operated it's just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts. Did you? No, but it's okay. It's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job.
Andrew Berry's bet on Shedeur Sanders is aging well, and the media is starting to echo that view. Mary Kay Cabot recently argued that Shedeur is the primary reason the Cleveland Browns remain in the conversation after a rough year. In her view, amid team-wide struggles, it's Sanders' presence, his profile, buzz, and flashes that kept Cleveland from slipping out of the spotlight entirely. Without him, she suggests, the Browns likely drift off the national radar. That ripple effect validates Berry's aggressive stance. The move wasn't just about a depth chart. It was about relevance and upside. Cabot also underscored that Shedeur isn't merely a headline. He's a quarterback with real runway to grow. His tools and poise are too substantial for Cleveland to park on the sidelines, and she pushed for a genuine opportunity to see what he can be with proper support. The calculus is straightforward. If he meets expectations, the Browns have a young centerpiece. If he doesn't, the organization can still reassess and pivot. Either way, the signal is clear. Berry's conviction in Shedeur Sanders has positioned Cleveland to capture attention now, while exploring a ceiling that could reshape the team's future.
It was too much value to pass up there, a developmental quarterback that they could take a look at and just kind of see what they had.
Right now, his upside clearly outweighs the downside. It's a bet the team can't ignore. After Shedeur Sanders' tough preseason outing, when critics jumped in, Andrew Berry didn't let it drift. Instead of excuses, he acted. He pulled the entire offensive line that had been on the field with Shedeur. That decision shook the building and made the front office's stance obvious. Protect the quarterback, give him a fair evaluation, and set him up to succeed. It signaled full investment in his development. Berry's move wasn't just a swap of personnel. It set a standard. He pushed for accountability, demanded changes, and focused on building a setting where Shedeur can grow instead of being put in losing spots. It's one of the strongest steps in reshaping the Browns roster and shows real trust in Shedeur's trajectory. There's also a bigger plan here. These choices aren't only about one game. They're tied to the long-term quarterback picture. With Dylan Gabriel's physical limitations and Kenny Pickett gone, the front office knows it needs a quarterback who can handle NFL speed and punishment. The post-Joe Flacco roadmap depends on getting this decision right. After all of that, Kevin Stefanski's latest comments flipped the tone. He's now publicly backing Shedeur's growth, regardless of outside noise. That's notable because Stefanski previously downplayed Shedeur's upside and critiqued him. With Pickett out of the mix, the focus has shifted. Shedeur's size, strength, and on-field tools are giving him a real edge over Gabriel. While there are ongoing questions about Gabriel's frame, Shedeur looks like the more complete option. That difference could be what pushes him up the Browns' depth chart.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
TJ Houshmandzadeh has weighed in too, saying the heat on Kevin Stefanski is rising, and a lot of it stems from Andrew Berry's aggressive choices. Houshmandzadeh pointed out that the microscope on Cleveland's quarterback plan is getting sharper, leaving Stefanski with little room for error. His warning was direct. If Stefanski keeps capping Shedeur Sanders' role or downplaying his importance, it could put his job at risk. With the front office and fan base tracking every move and Berry firmly behind Shedeur, any attempt to slow him down could push Stefanski onto the hot seat. Bottom line, Berry's steadfast backing of Shedeur Sanders now defines the Browns' quarterback landscape, and the ripple effects are everywhere. From the early draft push to the decisive preseason calls, Berry has made it clear he intends to give Shedeur a real runway. That stance hasn't just shifted the depth chart, it's also forced key figures, Stefanski included, to recalibrate their approach. What used to be a conversation full of doubts about Shedeur's ceiling has turned into a high-stakes pivot point, with Berry's conviction driving the agenda. As the pressure builds, Stefanski stands at a decision point. The spotlight on Shedeur, the expectations from fans, and the backing from the front office leave minimal margin for missteps. Stefanski has to balance his system with the reality that Berry's faith in Shedeur is now central to the team's direction. The future of the position in Cleveland may hinge on how well Stefanski manages that balance. With Berry all in, the trajectory looks promising, but Stefanski's choices in the coming months will determine whether Shedeur's rise takes off or stalls? What's your read on Andrew Berry's aggressive approach and the pressure on Kevin Stefanski? Do you back Berry's unwavering commitment to Shedeur Sanders? Or is it too much risk for a young quarterback? And how do you feel about Stefanski's shift in tone, given his earlier skepticism? Share your take below. Does this pressure cooker sharpen the Browns, or set them up to stumble?
And it's not a knock, it's how he plays in that spread wide open offense, and you project that to a spread wide open field. Yes, the arm may not be as strong.
I can't imagine there's many people that think Dillon Gabriel's a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. I don't care where they were drafted. And if the Browns are the one team that thinks that, then I'm going to suspect it's not true.
I never root against anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if Dillon Gabriel's ever a legitimate starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I'd be surprised. I just don't think.
Big news coming out of Cleveland. The competition for the starting quarterback spot is getting intense. Right now, it looks like Shedeur Sanders is pulling ahead in the race for QB1, while Dillon Gabriel is starting to raise concerns about whether he can hold onto the job. Gabriel was brought in for his size and physical presence, but things haven't been going his way. His arm strength and overall throwing performance during training camp have been underwhelming. In contrast, Sanders has been consistently outperforming him on the field. At this point, Shedeur Sanders seems to be on track to take over as Cleveland's starting quarterback. This shift could have big implications for the team moving forward. Initially, Gabriel was drafted before Sanders and was widely seen as the likely pick for the top quarterback spot. But there's been one major issue that keeps coming up: his height. At just 5'11", Gabriel's size has become a real concern, especially in a league where physical stature can make a big difference. Throughout training camp, Gabriel has had a tough time making long throws with the kind of ease people expected from him. In a position that demands both power and precision, that's a tough weakness to overcome. Meanwhile, Sanders has continued to turn heads with his ability to deliver accurate deep passes, using his long limbs and natural throwing ability to his advantage. It's become clear that Sanders has taken control of the QB battle during camp, while Gabriel has struggled, particularly when facing pressure or a crowded pocket. That's now led to a lot of talk from analysts, who are wondering if Gabriel's lack of arm strength and ability to perform under pressure might be too big of a hurdle for him to succeed in the NFL. The big question now: how can a quarterback with such a serious gap in his game expect to survive, let alone thrive, in one of the most competitive football leagues on the planet?
Gets the ball out, he's accurate. As far as how does that translate to the National Football League, I just don't see it. I don't know why. I'm sure he's a great kid, he plays his ass off, he's a winner, but when I watch him on tape, nothing really excites me about his game other than the fact that he's pretty accurate, got a quick arm.
Dillon Gabriel's struggles became pretty obvious during OTAs and minicamps, where some key issues in his game started to show. One particular rep stood out. He looked noticeably worried about defensive linemen swatting down his passes at the line of scrimmage. That concern led him to start releasing the ball a bit higher than usual, and it threw things off. Some of his passes ended up sailing over his receivers' heads, while others got tipped right at the line. It's definitely something he'll need to work on if he wants to seriously compete at the pro level.
Dillon Gabriel raises a lot of eyebrows of concern. As you guys know, he had a ball batted down today, and it turned into an interception, pick six. And you guys can see right here, this was a cause of concern coming into the draft when it pertained to Dillon Gabriel, is how, his smaller frame. You guys seen him with the Johnny Manziels. Just kind of with those guys, the smaller frames, getting balls batted down to the line, ultimately turns into interceptions.
That being said, both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have things they need to work on. Neither of them is flawless, and the quarterback competition is still very much alive. Sanders has shown more consistency throughout camp, but nothing is set in stone just yet. Both quarterbacks are still in the running, and the battle is only getting more intense. While Gabriel was having his share of mistakes, Sanders was out there dropping dimes during practice. His throws were on point, showing off some serious precision and smart decision-making. One play in particular stood out. He connected with his tight end on a corner route near the back pylon. It was a tight window, with a linebacker trailing, and the receiver pressed at the line. But Sanders placed the ball perfectly. It was a textbook read. As soon as the safety bit on the short route, Sanders quickly recognized the one-on-one coverage and took the deep shot without hesitation. That kind of situational awareness, paired with his accuracy, is what's giving him the edge right now. There's even been some chatter that Cleveland may have picked up Dillon Gabriel just to block another team from grabbing Sanders. According to reports, owner Jimmy Haslam was very interested in bringing Shedeur on board, but not everyone on the coaching staff was sold at the time. Regardless of those early disagreements, Sanders is proving himself where it matters, on the field, showing that he's ready to compete at the highest level.
There's a lot of speculation. He wanted Shedeur Sanders. The staff drafted Dillon Gabriel, Oregon, 2 rounds earlier. And they were doing that not because they necessarily loved Dillon Gabriel. They liked him, but they thought it would stop their impulsive owner from forcing them to draft in round 4 Shedeur Sanders.
One thing that's really helped Shedeur Sanders stand out is how well he communicates on the field and takes charge of his teammates. His leadership and calm under pressure have pushed aside any lingering doubts about his potential, and he's steadily climbing to the top of the QB competition. The progress he's made in such a short span is making the coaching staff take a second look at their original plans. At this point, it's becoming clear that Sanders is making a serious case to be the future face of the Cleveland Browns. But it's not just the coaches he's winning over. Fans are fully backing him too. Across all age groups, people are showing strong support for Sanders, with many calling for him to be named the starting quarterback. His exciting playstyle, paired with his natural leadership and magnetic personality, has really struck a chord with the fan base. There's a noticeable buzz building around the idea of him leading the team, and fans are clearly invested in his journey. The hype isn't just about what he could become. It's about the energy and spark he's already bringing to the team. Fans want someone who can lead, inspire, and get results. And right now, Sanders looks like that guy. Even veteran quarterback Joe Flacco had high praise for him, saying Sanders puts a smile on his face, not just because of how he plays, but because of the positive vibe he brings to the locker room. It's obvious that Sanders is leaving a strong impression on everyone, from coaches and analysts to his teammates.
I don't know if it has an impact on much, but Shedeur's been great. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around in those meeting rooms, and I think so far there's been, at least once in the meeting room that he's made me crack a smile, and that's what it's all about. He's a young guy trying to learn some football and come out here and practice well and do those things. And like I said, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, he's come up to me and.
As the quarterback race in Cleveland picks up steam, it's becoming more obvious that Dillon Gabriel is slipping out of serious contention for the starting role. He came into camp with high hopes, thanks in large part to his size and athleticism, but his recent showings have raised some red flags. Gabriel's inconsistency with deep throws, especially when under pressure, has exposed a major weakness that's tough to ignore. Even with his solid build and physical tools, Gabriel just hasn't shown the kind of arm strength and accuracy needed to compete at the NFL level. His inability to stay composed and deliver under pressure has only fueled more concern about whether he can really hold his own in this league. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is quickly climbing the depth chart, not just because of his standout play, but also due to his physical strength and mental grit. Sanders has been throwing with confidence and precision, even under duress, and he's consistently making smart reads when it counts. His accuracy and decision-making have really popped during training camp. What's more impressive is Sanders' commitment. Even without getting most of the first-team reps, he's stayed locked in and kept a disciplined approach. That work ethic, paired with his upbeat personality and leadership qualities, has earned him the respect of both his coaches and teammates. He's become a favorite among the fans, not just for what he's doing on the field, but for the energy he brings to the team overall. With Gabriel continuing to struggle, Sanders is clearly setting himself apart, not only with performance, but with presence. So now the question goes out to Browns fans. With Gabriel trying to find his footing, and Sanders making a strong push with solid play and leadership, who do you see taking over as QB1? Are you holding out hope that Gabriel bounces back? Or do you think Sanders is the obvious choice to lead this team into the future? Let us know what you think and who you're backing.